Recently, a group of scientists conducted an experiment that shattered the very foundation of what we call reality. It's known as the Frauchiger Renner experiment. And after its results, one thing became clear. The concept of a single objective truth no longer works. The core of the experiment was simple and terrifying. Several researchers took part in the same quantum experiment. Same rules, same particle, same procedure. But each of them observed the experiment from their own unique point of view. And when the time came to compare results, chaos began. Their realities didn't match. They didn't just see different numbers. They described completely different worlds. It was as if one of them said, "The object disappeared." The second said, "It split in two." The third, "It stayed the same." And the fourth claimed it transformed into something entirely new. And here's the twist. They were all right. Each of them, within their own system of observation, within their own perspective, received a valid result. Now imagine you're playing a game. One player sees a living woman, another, a hologram, a third, a lifeless puppet. But none of them are lying. Each one sees their own version of truth. And this truth isn't an opinion. It's their reality. The Frauchiger Renner experiment proved one core idea. Truth is no longer objective. It has no single owner. The world isn't a shared stage with one set of props. It's a game, and each player runs their own engine, on their own screen, with their own physics. So if you still believe that there's only one version of events, one universal storyline, maybe you just haven't been looking around carefully enough. Welcome to the new version of reality. A reality that depends entirely on who's looking. Now stop and think. You've probably always believed that you live in the same world as others, that you walk the same streets, see the same sky, share the same reality with those around you, but what if you don't? What if each of us lives in our own world? What if the street you walk with someone is not the same street they see? What if the events you both talk about are different in each of your timelines? What if each of us has a truth that's not symbolic, but literal? The Frauchiger Renner experiment confirmed it. Different observers see different outcomes, and all of them are real. That means there's not just one scene we all play on. There are many. They overlap, they intersect, but they never fully match. That's why you often feel misunderstood. That's why you and someone close can remember the same event differently, and neither of you is lying. You are simply on different branches of reality. This is not a metaphor. This isn't everyone has their own truth in a poetic way. This is literal, like two players connected to different servers of the same game. The world model might be shared, but each one experiences a different physics. Now listen to this closely. If you are the observer, you are also the creator. You don't just witness reality. You build what you see. You're not a guest in the world. You're its architect. Not the whole world changes, only your version of it. So if every person sees a different version of reality, if facts themselves can differ, then who decides what's real? The answer is you. Not a scientist, not a crowd, not an algorithm. You are the observer. And that makes you one of the authors. Right now it sounds beautiful, almost poetic, but it's not a metaphor. The experiment we just described didn't just challenge the idea of objectivity, it destroyed it. We used to believe in one world, one chair, one lamp, one outcome. Now we know the lamp might exist in multiple states, all at once, until you look at it, and when you do, it chooses. You find out what it was, and it becomes what you were ready to see. That's why each person has their own truth. That's why the world shifts with your perception. That's why sometimes you feel it in your gut. If I had chosen differently yesterday, everything would have changed. You're not imagining it. You're sensing an overlap with another timeline. Because you're not just walking through the game. You are paving its path. Others follow the rules. You can rewrite them. If you choose to wake up and remember who you are. You're not just playing a character. You're writing the script. There is no longer a wall between you and the outside world. You are not just an eye. You are the key that chooses the door. That's why one person sees the world as hell, and another as a field of infinite possibility. They live in different versions of the game, and both are real. As long as you believe there's only one truth, you're trapped. You will argue, prove, condemn. You'll fight for your version, and won't notice how reality starts to shrink around you. But if you realize there are many truths, you gain access to a whole new level, where you can choose, where you can rewrite, where you are not a prisoner of someone else's version, but the architect of your own. You've probably heard of quantum observation, but you may not be ready for what I'm about to say. There is an experiment that breaks the logic of time itself. It's called the delayed choice experiment, originally proposed by physicist John Wheeler, then later evolved into an even more mind-bending version, the quantum eraser. Here's the idea. You fire a photon at a screen with two slits. If you don't check which slit it goes through, the photon behaves like a wave. It goes through both slits at once, creating an interference pattern. But if you choose to measure its path, it collapses into a particle. It picks a specific slit. Now the twist. You can decide whether to observe or not after the photon has already passed through the slits. After. And yet, your present choice changes what happened in the past. If you choose to erase the information, the photon reverts to behaving like a wave. What does this mean? It means the past doesn't exist until you choose it in the present. You think you're just observing reality? You're not. You're editing it. You're the one deciding what version becomes real, even retroactively. This isn't metaphor. This is a real experiment. Repeated. Confirmed. So now ask yourself, if you can choose the past, then who are you really? Just a player, or the one who writes the rules? Look around. You see walls, a screen, you hear sounds. You think you're perceiving reality, but here's the truth. You've never seen the real world. Never. You only perceive the interface, like a desktop icon on a computer. It doesn't show what's truly inside. It's a symbol, same with your world. Table, tree, person. They are icons, programs your brain reads. In 2019, cognitive scientist Donald Hoffman proposed a theory. Evolution didn't shape us to see truth. It shaped us to survive. And truth is not required for survival. Everything you see is a simplified hologram adapted to your senses, a user interface for the brain to function with limited energy and speed. You don't see atoms. You don't feel radiation. You don't sense magnetic fields. The world is far more complex than it appears, but you only see what you need for your current role. So now imagine, if everything is an interface, where's the code? Who designed these icons? And can the operating system be rewritten? Here's the most important part. If reality is an interface, you are not just a user, you are the designer. You can change the image, change the script, change the rules. But first, you have to stop believing that the interface is reality. As long as you believe the world is solid and fixed, you are trapped. But when you start to see beyond the form, into the structure, you finally begin to see how reality is created. And once you understand this, you can never again believe that the world around you is fully real. There is no single objective universe. None. Each person lives inside their own version of reality. And when you talk to others, you're just comparing simulations, not poetry, not philosophy, quantum physics. There's an effect where observation doesn't just change the result, it creates it. You have your own story, your own rules, your own algorithms. Sure, some people share similar ones, because they were trained to look the same way. But the moment you turn your head, the world shifts, like changing the channel. And you suddenly realize, what you called reality was just one of millions of possible versions. Now imagine, the entire world is a mirror, but not a mirror that reflects, a mirror that responds. You look, and it awakens. You look, and it darkens. You love, and it blooms. You believe, and it becomes possible. That's what reality is. It's not waiting for your permission. It's waiting for your choice. Every thought, a command. Every emotion, a code that triggers a new scene. You are no longer a guest here. You are the scriptwriter, the director who forgot he was holding the camera. But now, you remember. And that changes everything, because the moment you realize that everything outside is a reflection, you stop fighting, and you begin creating. Thank you for walking this path with me. Don't be afraid to look deeper into the mirror. Don't be afraid to rewrite your reality. It's waiting. Welcome to the next level of consciousness. See you in the next video. Be blessed. Be aware. You understood everything correctly.